Another commonly asked question is, how do I wait for an item to be in stock? Or the opposite question is, how do I check if the graphics card is out of stock? So I have a very simple solution for this, and it's the following. So I'm just going to show you how it looks like when it's out of stock, which is very easy to reproduce, unfortunately. So I'm going to open a browser window, and you can see here that there's no add to cart button. Okay, so there's different ways in which you could check for this. You can try to find the add to cart button, right? And that's what I actually do in the script. And if you can't find it, then it will fail. So as you can see in the code, here we are looking for the add to cart button, and then once we get the add to cart button, we click on the add to cart button. Okay, so let's try that and see what happens. As you can see, there is an error that happens because the WebDriver couldn't find the button add to cart because it's out of stock. Okay, this is no good, right? Because you want to deal with this error when it happens. So I have a simple solution for you, okay, to catch exceptions in Python, which is very simple. So all I have to do is do a try here. Yeah, then I'll say print out of stock. Okay. Another point I wanted to make is that I have a variables. I have a setting here which is called implicitly wait. And what happens is when you're loading the page, sometimes the elements don't have enough time to load, right? So the last thing you want is for your script to fail straight away, because if it fails straight away, it might be that the item is in stock, but because you didn't wait for the add to cart button to show up, your script fails straight away. So that's why we have this setting here, and it's currently set 10 seconds. This means there's a delay, right? So this method here is going to look for an item. It's going to look for something with this XPath, and if you can't find that thing, it will fail after 10 seconds. So it's going to give it a chance to show up, but after 10 seconds, it gives up. And that's why you'll see a delay here. So we are trying to do add to cart again, but there is no add to cart. And we should be able to see, instead of an exception, we should be able to see, oh, I didn't get it. Okay. Right, so I got an error, and the reason for this error is because I forgot to import this class, because it's not available by default. So I need to do this from selenium.common.exceptions import no such element exception, and now it should work. So now my expectation is, if the item is the add to cart button is not available, right, it's going to print this message here instead of throwing an exception. And you could also use this for any exception handling code you might have. For example, you could just wait for like, I don't know, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you want, and you can do a loop here. I can show you how. So let's just imagine I'm doing a loop, and I'm going to copy and paste, for example, this URL here. So so I'll do a loop forever. And at the start of my loop, I can load the page. And then what I can do, if I load the page, I click on add to cart button. And then if all goes well, right, maybe I can break the loop. So in this case, so it doesn't keep doing the same thing. And then here, if it's out of stock, we can always do sleep. I don't know, maybe we can sleep for, I don't know, 120 seconds or 10 seconds. Don't make it too often, because then you'll get challenged. So I would say every maybe 5 minutes or every 10 minutes, you can basically do nothing. Let's see, 120 seconds. going to put some code here to just give me some kind of visual feedback. Waiting for some time. Every time I wait, right? After waiting, then I try and open the page again. I try to click the add to cart button, and if all goes well, right, then I do the break here, and this break will stop this loop from executing again. If you have any code after this, right, it will execute it. So here there will be code to buy GPU, you know, like the code that goes here. Oh, you can go if you run this like all the cells, then it would go to the next cell once it managed to find an item in stock. But you know what? I recommend you, right? Once you figure out how to make your script work with the Jupyter Notebook, there's an option here. You can export the notebook as a Python, this one here, okay? So let's try this. You can see it's opening this page, loading it. It's trying to add to cart, and you can see it, right? So it's waiting now for some time. It's 120 seconds. I'm going to fast forward so you don't have to wait, and then we should see the same thing again. It's going to reload the page. So as you can see, he has tried again, and he will keep going and going for hours on end until this item is back in stock. But you know what? I don't think it's very efficient to check each individual product page to be back in stock. There's a much better way, and I actually go through that method in another video, and I'll just give you a hint of what that is. So let's say you're looking to buy the latest 3070 Ti, right? You basically do a search by the actual graphics card. You just pick your range here, and you say I only want to see 30 series cards. And if you're only interested in the 3070 Ti or the 3080 Ti, if you think that's also good for you, well, 3070, yeah, let's say 3070 or 3080 Ti or 3070 Ti. So you can make your search as precise as you want, right? And then from here, you already know what items are in stock, right? So you can see, I don't know, maybe 40 graphics cards in one go. And you know that once they are back in stock, this element here should no longer be there, right? The thing I do in the other video, I just go and check for any item that is not out of stock, and then I send an alert. You can change the code, right? You can adapt that method, and if you see something that is in stock, you can just click on it and buy it. So I think this is far more efficient, because instead of requiring like a dozen or 2 dozens clicks or page views, right? You only need one page view to see everything that's in stock in one go. And you can copy and paste this URL, and you can add this to, you can open this using Selenium easily. So let's do that, right? Let's copy the code from the previous video, and let's try to create basically to monitor a listing page to see if there are any products in stock. And if there are any products in stock, then we can trigger the code that adds to cart. So to do that, let's go to the code that we had in the previous episode. So it's the stockchecker.py, and I have here a method called check for stock, which takes a page, and then it checks whether this page has anything in stock. So I'm going to add a new cell, and I'm going to change this. Instead of a page, it was supposed to be an object rather than a URL. So I'm going to change this to a URL. So I'm going to load the URL into the browser, and instead of just doing page.content, which we don't have this property here, I'm going to call it wd.pageSource, and everything else is the same. Now I need to also import the pandas library and the beautiful soup library, which I've already installed. If you don't know how to install it, you can always check there's two places where you can find this information. You can go into my article where I show you how to install pandas and Beautiful Soup. I'll put the article in the description, or you can go to the previous video where I created this code and I also install it there. Okay, so you can see that it's importing it. Okay, one thing I have to do is SPD, and I need to soup. So Beautiful Soup and pandas, they are great for, well, pandas is more for like manipulating data and visualizing data. Beautiful Soup is great for parsing data, and it's a great complement. It's a library that you normally want to use with Selenium, because Selenium alone, it's good for manipulating the browser and doing things with the browser. But if you really need to parse data and it gets a bit complicated, then you always want to use Beautiful Soup, and that's what we're going to do now. So we have the method here for check for stock, and now let's add another cell which basically calls this method at least once with the URL. So I created the listing page for the 3090s. Most of them are out of stock, if not all of them. So I'm going to start with this example. Everything should be out of stock. And the idea is we should be able to see a Panda data frame. This works, of course. I probably will have some errors. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I need to start again. So import this. Oh. And again. Then I can open the browser. Yeah, it's empty at the moment. I'll swap into this method again. I'm just going to load it again. And then let's see if this time I'm a bit more lucky. Okay. So it's opening, just to give you an idea what it did, it opened the page that I selected, right? And it parsed it into a Panda data frame. And as you can see, everything here is out of stock. Okay. Something that's missing here is the price, right? And the truth is, nowadays there's actually, you can find graphics card in stock, but the price is not quite right? So we don't just want to buy any available graphics card, we want to buy one which is affordable. So let's add an extra column here. So I'm going to do that. Well, let's see where this information is, right? So I know the price is available here, and we can see it's inside price current. So there's a price UL, and there's price. So it's trying to price current. And let's see what we get. Seems like I didn't get anything inside it, because I went to look for the wrong thing. It's an LI. So price current is an LI tag. Okay, so let's see if it works. I changed the tag from an P tag to an LI tag, and hopefully this method should do a bit better. Okay, we can see a lot more information here. We don't really want all of this, to be honest. We probably want dot text. Let's see. So I was getting an error because sometimes this element doesn't exist. So I'm doing an if statement, just check it exists, and if it does, then I'm just calling the text property. Okay, so I can see now. So I have numbers here. I don't want the currency signal, and I don't want this text here, right? So let's go back. So as you can see, I can find the number inside the strong tag. So maybe if I do find strong, so inside the item price, yeah, then I will have item price, and I'll have a strong tag. Don't need to add any criteria to it. Okay, and let's see what happens now. Okay, so now I have the numbers without having any additional. Okay, I have the comma, but the comma I can deal with it easily. I don't have any currency sign, or I don't have any extra wording there, right? So the next thing I need to do, I'm building a Panda data frame here. So I'm just going to add So row processed dot append, so item price. Okay, so now I want to put it in the right position, so I want to put it into the middle between the name and the status. So I'm going to add it here. So I'm assuming that if there's an item title, there will also be a price. I might be wrong, we'll find out. So item price, then I'm going to add a column here, so to say item price. Okay, so I'm going to compile this and see if I get a Panda data frame that looks good. So it seems like the item price is not always there, so I need to do something smarter. So if item price else, I need to append something anyway now, so empty. So the idea is that if there is no price for that item, then I will just add an empty value. If there is an item price, then I will add it. Okay, and hopefully this will solve the problem we had just now. Okay, so now for some reason there's some items without a price. This might be an issue, but we don't really care for out of stock, right? It doesn't really matter how much it costs. This will be only relevant for in stock. But I want to double check, why do we have items without the price? Maybe there's a different structure that I didn't notice. So 1, 2, 3. As far as I can tell, every single item has a price. 69. Seems like I have too many items here. So maybe I just need to make my query a little bit more specific. So instead of going through all the different divs, I'm just going to go through all the different item cells. I think I did it wrong. So item cell. Okay, so now it works better, so we don't have any repeated elements. Okay, so it seems like I just had to improve the query here I had before. It wasn't very good. So now I only see items. Okay, the next step, right? Okay, I know the price, but I also need to have a URL, right? Because the idea is every time something is in stock, I want to get the URL of that item and buy it. So let's try and get that information as well. So it should be as simple as that. So there's an A tag, which we're already getting. So if I go here, this is where the actual URL is. So I'm going to add after the status or before the status as well. So row processed. I might not even need this if statement anymore, by the way, because I was making a mistake before. So item title dot get href. And I'm going to add another column, which is a URL. Okay. So now my Panda data frame should also have a URL. Okay. Okay. So now I have a URL. I have a status. To search for a status, right? If I want to find something in the Panda data frame with the status I want, it's as simple as we can do something like items dot status equal, and I can just give it, for now I'm just going to use sold out because that's the only thing we have available, right? And this will give you an index of all the entries in the table that match your query, right? In this case, it's all of them because they're all sold out, unfortunately. But if, for example, one of the items here doesn't match your criteria, it will return an empty list. So let's do a search here for available, because if something is not sold out, it will say it's available, right? And as you can see, it will return false for everything, right? By knowing this, then we can just get all the items that match. Okay, there's none, right? If I want to just test this to make sure this works, you can see basically I can filter from this table here all the entries that have the status I'm looking for. Of course, I'm not looking for sold out, but I just wanted to give you an example. So the idea is, if there's anything in stock, then this list here will have 1 or 2 items, okay? And then what you can do, you can also do queries on the, you can do on the price, you can do some checks, right? You have here price here set to something. You can always do a check on that, okay? But for now, I'm just going to keep it simple. So let's clean up the price column here. So items, item price, and I'm going to apply a function. In Python, it's called a lambda function. It's very useful. So I'm going to do lambda x, and then x dot replace, and then I'm going to give it a comma, which is what I want to replace, and then I'm going to replace with an empty string. Yeah. Okay. As you can see, this is the result of me removing the comma, right? But of course, I need to make sure the items, the item price, I need to replace my existing column with a new column. And then I'm just going to visualize items now after here I replace the column with a version of the item price without the commas. And then the second line is just for me to display it in the screen to see if it worked. As you can see, it worked, right? And why did I remove this comma? Because now I need to do another operation which requires me to have no commas, right? And I'll explain to you why. So if I look at the schema of this Panda data frame, all of them are like set as object. For item price, it should be like a float. So I can just apply, for example, I can do like, I can check if something is bigger than the other, or, I can do some queries on this property here. So now I'm going to convert the column to numeric column. So items, so item price. And you can see, okay, this is a result. So I'm going to replace, so items, so item price equal to, so item price. And I'm going to add another column. And you can see now it's actually converted to int, right? So because all the values are integers, so we have now something that we can work with. So I'm going to copy and paste this. Obviously, I don't want to do this I want to do this inside the function rather than outside the function. I could have done the data cleanup inside here, right? Because I'm adding the data. I can obviously, so data frame, I'm just going to do it here, but I could have done it in a different way. I didn't have to manipulate the Panda data frame itself. So data frame, so now the method should return everything I want. So item price error. Okay, so it's a small error here. Okay, so now my table has everything I need, and it also is of the right type. In 64, this means I can do some queries here. So for example, I can do items, item price bigger than 100. Okay, less than 1,000. Of course, there's nothing under 1,000. Let's say if I want to buy a graphics card which is less than 2,500, then I have here this is basically a list of indices, and then for each index then we get whether it's true or false, whether it meets our criteria, right? But you don't need to work with that, so I can just filter this out and I can get this. Yeah, you can see then I only get products which are under 2,500, but obviously the status, all of them are sold out, so I could just do so item dot status equal, let's try sold out first. So here it's very important to have brackets, right? So my condition is if the items are less than 2,500 US dollars and it's sold out. Of course, it doesn't make any sense, right? But I'm just doing it. I'm just using these values so at least we get some results, right? Right now we get almost everything, but if I change this to available, which is what we should have, it will give me an empty list, because it's supposed to give me an empty list because this particular query I did has no items in stock. I can replace it in a second with another URL that might be more useful. So let's try and look for another URL that is in stock. So I'm going to try and, so I want all the 3090s, 3080s, 3070s and 3060s, and hopefully, well, all of them, to be honest. Let's see if there's anything in stock. There should be. So this URL instead will have more things in stock, so we'll be able to see. And you can see now that we do get a list of results, right? And then if I do a query, I only get things that are available, which is not a great lot. So we have 3070s, 3060s, and that's it, basically, right? But then you get an idea now. We have a way to check on price, and we also have a URL here which we can use to add to cart, and that's what we can do now in our script. So I could go and reuse this code now. We can modify this code, and you do need to be specific on your criteria, I would say. So in this case, let's say I want to buy the 3070. I'll get the first one available and I'll just buy it. Now we have a way to find items in stock, and then we can revise this code here, right? So this code at the moment is just hard coding to a product URL and adding it to cart, okay? So we can try and do is add a method here. So I can copy and paste this. Maybe I have to move this up. Let me just try and move it. So this goes first, and then we have this code here. So inside the while loop, I'm going to have a query. So I'm going to be checking for the stock in this listing page. I could have more than one, by the way. If I have more than one URL, I can also do that. You can just do a for loop inside for each URL. But I've combined everything into one. In fact, you can change this method as well to take a list of URLs, and then it gives you a list of all the items for all the URLs at the same time, so it's easier to handle. But for now, I'm just doing it with one URL, one listing page, but it's very easy to extend it. So the idea is that I would do a query here. So I'm going to add my query here, and this is going to give me a list of all the items that are available, right? To get the first item in the list of items in stock, I'm just going to do in stock.log and then 0, and then I'm going to replace this URL here with item to purchase. Now pass in the URL. Yeah. And then we'll try to click the add to cart button. So I need to also check one thing here, which is I just need to make sure that if we have items in stock, I'm going to try and buy it. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll have to do another time.sleep, another 120 seconds. Okay. So you can see it's adding to cart already. It didn't quite work. So let's try again. I think I made a mistake. So I've just added, I added an extra bracket, so it doesn't need brackets, empty. So there's no So there's an error I'm getting. There's no URL. Okay, because I made a mistake. So instead of using lock, I should actually use iLock. Yeah, let's see if it works now. You can see now it's adding item to cart. Okay, so now we have gone to a point where this is a random product, of course. I'm not sure if buying a 3070 Ti at $1,400 is not exactly a good price, but you can adjust your criteria as you see fit, and then you will get exactly what you want, right? So you can change this. You can make this filter also very specific, right? I put almost everything here because I wanted to get items in stock. Okay, so adding to cart is great, but it's not, of course, it's not what we want to do. We want to do the actual checkout, right? So to do that, instead of just adding to cart, I can create a method that buys an item. So buy, let's say, buy item, and then I pass in the URL, and then this will buy an item, whatever it is, wherever it's coming from. Yeah, so let's create that method. So let's do def buy item, takes in the URL. First thing it does, it opens the URL in the page, and then we add to cart, of course. And we add to cart. And this is where I can add more code now from the other steps, you know, that we have for the checkout process. So I'm going to copy and paste. I should break down this further. I have more methods. I'm putting everything into the same method, but that's because I'm just doing a demonstration. I would say that as an exercise, you should split this into different steps of the checkout process. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay, and that's about it. Let's see. Okay, so we have now a massive method that does a checkout of an item. And let's see how it behaves. So I'm going to load it. Oops. I have an error. Python can be very specific with indentation. You need to make sure that each line starts exactly the same place. So let's see how this will work. So let's run the cells again. So new browser is open. Right, so as you can see, I've been able to look for items that are in stock in the listing page, and then I was able to add it to cart and complete the checkout process. Okay, I didn't go all the way through to the order confirmation because I definitely don't want to be entering credit card details unless I really want to buy this item, and so I didn't go through the whole process. I would say if you want to do this, you probably want to register for an account in Newegg. Then I would log in manually on this browser to Newegg website, and then you can let the script basically complete the checkout process, but it will not require as many steps as this checkout process required, because I started from scratch. I had to put my billing address, my shipping address. But if you already have an account, you should be able to just go through each step automatically. It saves you time and effort as well. And yeah, I think that's about it. Like I've shown you like how to put everything together, you know, to check for stock and how to buy it and how to connect the two together. Another thing that I could do, right? I didn't mention, but maybe I'll cover that in a next video. I'm going to show you how to look for maybe outside of the newegg.com, the website. There's the other websites where you can check for a stock, and then you can just add as many sources of stock information as you can possibly have. In this way, you don't have to always hit the Newegg website, you know, because the more often you connect with them, the more likely they might not like it. So if you add more sources for stock information, then you can also have a higher likelihood that you are going to be able to buy this item. But I think that's all for now. I hope you find this video useful, and if you do, don't forget to smash the like button, and I hope to see you again soon. Happy coding!